Today we are going to start talking about how to write equations in point-slope form and slope-intercept form when you are given a point and the slope. Everything that we do is going to go through point-slope form today, so we're going to talk first about how to plug values into point-slope form. Then we are going to talk about how to convert point-slope to slope-intercept. And then finally, write an equation in slope-intercept form. Please complete the guided notes as you go through this. There will be breaks in the video, so you have time to stop and write things down. Okay, before we get started, we're going to talk about point-slope form. Point-slope form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So if you have a point and the slope, you can plug those in for your x1, y1, and m, and you have an equation in point-slope form. The biggest thing that you need to remember is that when you're plugging x and y into the equation, you need to make sure you change your signs. So let's go ahead and look at this. Okay, and I'm going to write point-slope form here at the top so we have it. So we said y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So when I'm looking at my point and my slope that are given to write the equation in point-slope form, I have x, y, and m, but we're going to plug those in to x1, y1 instead of just the x and the y. So in my formula, y minus 5, okay, so notice it was a positive 5 in the point, changed to a minus in the problem, equals 1 times x minus 4. Again, notice that that sign is the opposite. So the 4, which was positive, became negative when I plugged it in. This would be your answer in point-slope form. Since the slope is 1, you might also see it without the parentheses. So y minus 5 equals x minus 4. Let's go ahead and look at B. If I label the information I have, my point is x1, y1, and my slope is m. So when I plug this in, since it's y minus negative 4, notice my signs are going to change. So it becomes a y plus 4. The slope is negative 4/3. And then my x1 is a positive 3 there, so it should be the opposite when I plug it in my parentheses. So y plus 4 equals negative 4/3 times x minus 3. Okay, let's look at C. Again, label the information you're given, x1, y1, and m. So I'm going to do y minus y1 equals m, which is 2/5, times x minus x1. Since we have a minus and negative there, remember that's really just going to change my sign to the opposite. So instead of a y minus negative 1, we're going to have a y plus 1. 2/5 will stay the same. And then the same thing with my x1. That's going to change signs as well. So we have y plus 1 equals 2/5 times x plus 5. Okay, last one. x1, y1. M. Y minus y1, which is 3, equals negative 2 times x minus x1. So minus a negative becomes plus a positive inside my parentheses. So y minus 3 equals negative 2 times the quantity x plus 1. Now you go ahead and try the next 4 on your own. Fill all of these in on your guided notes, and then when you finish, you can check your answers. Okay, so when you check your answers here, we have y minus 2 equals 0 times x minus 1. This one's a little special because I have a 0 out front. So I really have y minus 2 equals 0 because 0 times anything will be 0. For b, we have y minus 0 equals m times x minus negative 2, which becomes a plus 2. The only thing I would change here is we don't really need to write the minus 0. So we could write it as y equals negative 5 halves times the quantity x plus 2. For c, y minus negative 5 becomes y plus 5. That's going to equal 2/3 for my slope times quantity x minus 3. So since it was a positive 3, we're going to do minus in the parentheses. And then the last one, y minus negative 2 becomes y plus 2. Negative 3 is my slope. And then x minus negative 4 becomes an x plus 4. So that's how you plug the slope in a point into point slope form. Okay, and the reason it's called point slope form is because we have a point and the slope in the formula. We are going to go ahead and use this form to change to slope-intercept form. So remember, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Okay, so if you notice, all of these problems here in example 2 are in point slope form, and we're going to change these to slope-intercept form by following 2 steps. First, we distribute, then we need to get the y out. Okay, so first we're going to distribute. And then we're going to isolate the y, or solve for y. Okay, so every problem will be very similar. We are going to distribute the 2. So we have y minus 3 equals 2x minus 2. First step is distribute. Second step is to solve for y. So I need to add 3 to both sides to get the y alone. So I have 2x, and then negative 2 plus 3 is a positive 1. Same thing for b. First step is to distribute. So we're going to multiply by 3. So I get y plus 4 equals 3x minus 15. Second step is to solve for y. So I need to get rid of that plus 4. So we're going to do minus 4 on both sides. Negative 15 minus 4 is negative 19. Be really careful with your signs in these. Okay. Next problem. We have fractions for our slopes now, so make sure you understand how to multiply fractions, and I'll show you that in a second. Or make sure you know how to use your calculator to do this. So 2/3 times x, 2/3 times 9. 2/3 times x is just going to give us 2/3 x. I'm going to write the work off to the side for the fraction. So I'm doing 2/3 times 9. Remember, 9 is the same as 9 over 1. So you can do this 2 ways. You can simplify first and then multiply straight across, or you can multiply and then simplify. I like to simplify first. So I'm going to, I know that 3 goes into 3 one time, and it goes into 9 3 times. So by simplifying those ahead of time, I have some smaller numbers to deal with. So now I have 2 times 3, which gives me 6. And then on the bottom, 1 times 1 gives me 1 on the bottom. Don't really need to put the 1 there, but I could. Okay, so working our way across. 2 times 3 is 6. 1 times 1 is 1. So if I simplify that, I get my 6. After we've done that, we're going to go ahead and solve for y. So I'm going to add 8 to both sides. So I get y equals 2/3 x plus 14. Okay, so one more with a fraction in it. Distribute. So negative 1/2 times x is negative 1/2 x. Negative 1/2 times 4 is going to give me negative 2 over 1, which is negative 2. Last step is to solve for y. So if I do minus 1 on both sides, I have negative 1/2 x, and then negative 2 minus 1 is negative 3. Go ahead and try the next 4 problems, and then check your answers. Okay, so checking your work for the guided practice. Distribute to get negative 5x minus 5. The y is already by itself, so we are done. B, distribute to get 3x plus 6. Then we need to add 10 to both sides. So we get y equals 3x plus 16. For C, distribute again. Negative 4/3 times negative 3 gives you a positive 4. I didn't really want to write that way. Let's go ahead and fix that. So I didn't need parentheses here. Didn't really need parentheses there because we're multiplying. Apologize for that. Okay, and then we need to add 4 to both sides to get the y alone. So we have negative 4/3 x plus 8. And then the final problem, we're going to distribute. So we have y plus 2 equals 1/5 x, and then 1/5 of negative 10, or 10 divided by 5, is negative 2. Subtract 2 from both sides. And negative 2 minus 2 gives us negative 4. Now, with these, the most common mistake is with those fractions. So before you go on, take a minute, make sure you understand how to multiply the fractions when you're distributing. If not, ask for help. Okay, moving on to the last type of problem. We're actually going to combine the two together. So we are going to start by writing the equation in point-slope form and then change it to slope-intercept form so we have our answer in slope-intercept. So we're going to go ahead and start with our y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So x1, y1, and m. If I plug those in, I have y minus 0 equals 1 times x minus 1. So this is my equation of point-slope form like we did in the first example. I want to go ahead and change this, though, so it's in slope-intercept form. So like we did in example 2, we're going to distribute. So we need to multiply by 1. And then y minus 0 is just y, so I'm going to forget about that. 1 times x is 1x. 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. So this is my equation in slope-intercept form. This was my equation in point-slope form. If you graph both of them, you'll end up with the same line. Let's go ahead and look at B. x1, y1, m. So when I plug this in, I have y minus 4 equals negative 6 times x minus negative 1. So remember the sign changes to a positive or a plus. And then once we get to this point, I have my point-slope form, but my problem is asking me to write it in slope-intercept form. So I need to go ahead and distribute. So y minus 4 equals negative 6x minus 6 when I distribute. And then we're going to add 4 to both sides. So negative 6 plus 4 is negative 2. And here is my slope-intercept form. Here is my point-slope form. Okay. Example 3, same thing. x1, y1, and then m. So if I plug these in, y minus negative 2 becomes a plus 2. 3/2 for my slope, and x minus 2. So there's my point-slope form. I need to change this to be in slope-intercept form. So we are going to distribute 3/2 x, and then 3/2 times 2 hoping you're getting the hang of this. Those cancel. I actually just have a 3 left, so -3. Subtract 2 from both sides. So we have y equals 3/2 x. Combine those together, I get -5. So this is my slope-intercept form. This is my point-slope form. Let's do one more together. Label these x1, y1, and m. When I plug them in, we have y minus 3 equals -1/4 times x minus -4. So that changes our sign to a plus. So there's our point-slope form of the equation. We're going to go ahead and distribute to change to slope-intercept. So -1/4 times x, and then -1/4 times 4. Those end up canceling. I just have -1. Last step is to add 3 to both sides. So I get y equals -1/4 x plus 2. Go ahead and try the next 4. Remember, plug it in to get point-slope form, and then distribute and solve for y to get slope-intercept form. Once you're done, go ahead and check your answers. So I'm going to show you a little bit of work here. Okay, plugging it in, distributing, and then solving. Okay, so y equals -3/5 x plus 5 is our first equation. Same thing for the second one. Remember, it changes my sign when I plug it in. So plus 5, and I have a -1 times x minus 2. I'm going to distribute. And then I'm going to solve. So subtract 5 from both sides. -1x is the same as -x. And then 2 minus 5 is -3. Okay, next one. Y minus -5 equals 5 times x minus 3. When you distribute, you get 5x minus 15. Then we're going to subtract 5 from both sides. So -15 minus 5 is -20. And then the last one. Okay, plug it in. Distribute to get 3/5 x minus 3. And then add 4 to both sides. So -3 plus 4 gives me 1. Okay, so 3 things that we've done today. Write equations given the slope and the point. So we wrote equations in point-slope form. We changed from point-slope form to standard form. And then we also wrote equations in slope-intercept form. Sorry, not standard form, slope-intercept form. Wrote equations in slope-intercept form given the point and the slope. Okay, so for today, you have a homework assignment. Once you show us your completed guided notes, we will give you the homework assignment. Tomorrow, when you come in, we'll go through the homework, we'll review, and we're going to take a quiz to see how you're doing on these. So make sure you know the different forms. Those do need to be memorized. Feel free to go back and watch parts of this video again if you're not sure. If you have any questions that you can't find the answer to on your own, raise your hand, let us know. We will come help you out.